but what is up, 418? That's what I'm talking about. Y'all have gotten a little weak since, we started doing games in the pre-party. So I need like maximum effort. What is up, 418? That is what I'm talking about. I feel like I'm super close. I feel like you guys are like in the splash zone up here. Like if I really enunciate my words, then you guys are gonna just get spit on. Ashley, I'm totally kidding. No, I was totally kidding. I love doing what I do here at 418. As Pastor Josh said, I kind of started just by helping out, by sticking around because I needed rides and saying, hey, what can I do to help and all that good stuff. And I just love it. I love every part of it. I love being a part of the pre-party. I love being a part of doing any videos. I love being a part of the production team. I just love church, and it's so good. I just love it. And for any of you guys that know me, Pastor Josh, Pastor Colton, Pastor Ben's not here, but I am a storyteller. Regardless of what they say, I am a phenomenal storyteller. I may miss 80% of the details in my story, but they're great stories. So I hope you're ready for a couple stories. I've got quite a few for you guys. Now, when I first started prepping for this message, I was like, I don't fully know what I want to talk about, and I just sat there and I was like, God, what do you want the teenagers to know? And he just said, let them know that it's all in steps. It's not from point A to point Z. It's point A, B, C, all the way through the alphabet. LMNOP, QRS, TUV. Someone laugh at my jokes, please. Hey, thanks, guys. So anyways, he said, let them know that it takes steps. Pastor Leanna, appreciate it. Always just out there with the extra of the extra. And so when I was asking guys, like, let them know that it takes steps. And so I was like, all right, God. So I sat down. I'm in my dining room because I don't have my own office space. I sit down. I open up my laptop, and I'm like, all right, I know I have to work on some business stuff. I know I have to prep my message. So what am I going to do? So I sat there and I thought about it for a little bit. And I was like, I'm going to go do some laundry. So I get up. I go do my laundry. And now, okay, y'all are going to judge me for this. Now, hear me out on the whole part of this story, okay? My mom is such a loving mother, and she finds joy in being a mom and doing, like, mom things. So she will do all the small things that I could do as an adult. As a almost 23-year-old man, I can do them on my own, but she just loves to do it. So I indulge her. My mom normally does my laundry. Okay, like I said, y'all are going to judge me. My mom normally does my laundry. It's because I let her do it because she likes to. I did my laundry, right? So I told you I got up and did my laundry. My mom literally got home and said, how come you didn't tell me you needed laundry done? And I was like, I could do it, Mom. I'm sorry, right? So anyways, I this is a big step for me doing my laundry without telling my mom, hey, I'm doing my own laundry. And so, I close it in the washer, and I come back, I sit down on my computer, and I'm like, all right, I cannot waste my evening. I have to prep my message, or I have to send out some business emails. So what do I do? Someone want to take a guess at what I did? Anyone. What I do? I did not play video games. I did not pray. But you know what? I probably should have. Keenan. I did not pray. You know what I did? I got up, and I went, and I made a protein shake. And I was like, you know what? I am being so productive today. Look at me being productive. I did my laundry. I got my protein shake in for the day. I'm doing good. It is good in the hood. And so, I make my protein shake. I come back to my little table, and I sit down. I'm like, all right, I cannot waste my evening. I need to send emails to make money, or I need to prep my message to save some souls. So what do? I did not watch TV. I did not make a sandwich. However, that sounds amazing right now. I'm starving. You know what I did? I put my hands on my keyboard. I took them off, reached over my drink, took a sip, put it back down, put my hands on my keyboard. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just do something. And then I sat there, and I grabbed my drink, took another sip, put it down, hands on keyboard. And I'm like, all right, I'm being so productive today. It's a good day. So I reach over, grab my drink, take a sip. I'm like, treat myself. Yeah, protein shake is good. And it's just, I did these things that were productive, but it wasn't what I needed to do. It wasn't what I had intended to do with my day. And how do you guys find yourselves doing things like this? Like when you have to do homework, you're like, I guess I could go Windex my window in the backyard outside because, that's productive and it's good. And my parents would love a clean house, so you avoid doing your homework. Or like, I really need to wash the dishes, but you're like, I'm going to take my dog for a walk because he's such a good dog and he deserves to exercise. I'm going to be productive and do something good for my dog. Now, I feel like we do this because it's not really what we envision X to be. Not like your X. I mean like X as in like math, okay? Thank you for laughing at my jokes. I really worked hard on that one. All right. So it's not what X is, okay? So like for me, I want to be up here. I want to preach, and I was super excited, and I loved it when Pastor Josh asked me to. And for my video business, I love shooting videos. I love editing videos. It's super fun. I love it. I love every aspect of it. But it's not what I envisioned to do sitting at my dinner table and sending out emails or making phone calls to a random business that doesn't even know who I am, might not even want a video done. So it's just not what I envisioned. And so a lot of times what you set your mind to, what you have your goal to, it's not going to be just your it's not from point A to point Z, there's point A to point B. There's steps in between. There's point A, B, C, D, all of that good stuff. And it's really important to realize that there is steps in where you have your goal set. Where you have your goal set, there's going to be steps. And so eventually, I promise you, I did not just waste my day. I did actually be productive. I sat down, hunkered down, and I started prepping my message. And I was like, Lord, what do you want to say to these students? I already told you. He said that it takes steps. So we're kind of going to dive in, all that good stuff. And the reason I chose to work on my message over my video business is because I have a greater purpose. I have a greater goal. I have a greater mission that I was willing and ready to step into and be a part of. And that was to bring about, say it with me, real revolution. All right, so I had to bring about real revolution, and that is my overall goal in life. Like, sure, I love being a videographer. Sure, I love doing all the things that I love to do. That's really redundant. I said that twice, basically. But I love doing what I do. I love every aspect of my life, really. But my overall goal is to bring about real revolution. It is to encourage, empower, and inspire people to bring about a real revolution. Now, what is real revolution? I told you, I'm a storyteller, no matter what Pastor Josh, Pastor Colton say. But, so we're going to dive back into my high school years, so whole 6 years ago. It all started one day when I was a sophomore, and I roll up. It's third period. I roll up, NJROTC, I'm cool. I got my shirt tucked into my pants because I thought that was cool at the time. It was pretty nerdy, not going to lie. If you do it now, it's cool, don't worry. So, I roll up third period, and I kick open the door. I bust in. I'm looking at everyone, and this is what I look like. Denny, do we have that slide? That is what I look like. That is sophomore year Dominic Robles. That is sophomore year me. All right, we can put that away. I don't want people taking pictures of that. That's disgusting. All right, so sure. You know what, Keenan, you're a good-looking gent. All right, so, that's how I bust up. I bust in, and I'm looking around, and I see this girl, and I was like, I was awestruck. This is the story of how I got saved. This isn't some random story. Stay with me. I was awestruck. So I was like, over the next couple weeks, I was like, all right, I'm going to befriend this girl. It's going to be good, and I'm just going to like everything that she likes. I'm just going to go ahead and do everything that she does and all this good stuff. And so, over the next couple weeks, I ended up befriending her. It was good and all that good stuff. Walking home, we would hang out during lunch, all that good stuff. And so I found out she was a Christian. And now, when I was like maybe 6 years old, my parents would take us to Sunday school. And that's really all I remember. I don't remember anything about Jesus. I don't remember anything about God. I don't remember anything from when I was in Sunday school when I was like 6 years old. Now, I found out she was a Christian, and I was like, yeah, I could be a Christian. I love me the Lord. The Lord is good, from what I'm seeing. And so, thanks for laughing, guys. It just really makes me happy. All right, so I'm like, all right, yeah, so I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for a church, and it's going to be good, and, do you have any recommendations? And she's like, oh, me and my family, we're going to go ahead and try out this new church called Horizon, and, it's over just down the street from my house, so it's not too far. And I was like, okay, sweet, dope. I didn't say that because that wasn't, terminology back then. I'm pretty sure I said swag or something. Anyways, so I'm like, all right, yeah, so super cool. I'll go ahead and join you guys this Sunday. And so, I ended up riding with them on Sunday. And now I'm like, how bad could church really be? Like it's just someone talking the whole time. It's just not that bad. It'll be good. So I get there, and people are like super nice, like overly nice. Like if something's wrong, they will just still be nice. The world could be on fire, and they will be nice and happy and hug you and just all this stuff. And I was like, all right, this is kind of weird, not going to lie, because all my life I just kind of kept to myself, kind of did my own thing, all that good stuff. And then worship comes around, and, these people are singing about all these things that I didn't understand. People are, the pastor's preaching about things that I just didn't understand because he's talking about words that I just didn't know, like thee, thy, them, the thou, and all this New King James stuff. If you guys don't know what New King James, please read your Bible. Yes, Darian likes the New King James Version. And so all this is going on, and then Pastor Josh ends up coming up for announcements, and he's talking about 418. And so she's all excited. She's like, "Ooh, youth group, yeah, that'll be fun." And so like I'm trying to match her energy because I'm like, yeah, just trying to get in, not just trying to like slide into the DMs, all that good stuff. And so I was like, yeah, 418 sounds great, right, buddy. And so Wednesday rolls around. We're fast forwarding a lot. Wednesday rolls around, and I get there. People playing volleyball, all this good stuff, and it's like our normal 418 like we have here, except just on a smaller scale. And so worship comes around, and I still don't understand what is going on. I still don't understand any of the words. I don't understand why people are raising their hands. I don't understand why people are getting on their knees. I just don't understand why people are crying. I'm like, why are y'all crying when you're singing? Like, I'm over here singing Linkin Park, and I don't cry. That's what I listened to back in high school, just to let you know. And so, Pastor Josh ends up coming around, and he's preaching this message, and I will never forget it because it is the message that changed my life. It is the message that I gave my life to Jesus. And he was talking about God's love and how God loves us and how our God in heaven, he is there for us when our earthly dads aren't. And, at the time, I didn't have a good relationship with my dad. And so it really hit me, and it really struck me on how much God loves us. And so I'm over here. Now, some of y'all might be like this. I'm over here like ugly crying. I'm talking like, if y'all ever seen like a fire hose going off, it's like that, but out of my tear ducts and my nostrils. It is like an ugly cry, like UGLY, I had no alibi, ugly. And, the Connect group leaders, your leaders here at 14, they're great. They're glorious. Why? Because they will still hug you when you're ugly crying. I feel bad for my Connect group leaders. I feel bad for Pastor Josh because they'd have nice clothes on. It'd be a nice jacket or a nice T-shirt, and I'm here ugly crying, and they're like, listen, it's okay, and they're just going for the hug. I'm just trying to keep my face away because as much as I was experiencing the Lord, I didn't want them to experience my snot. And so I'm just trying to keep my face away, and I'm pretty sure half the time they'd end up, grabbing me by the head, hold me closer, make sure I feel loved and all that stuff, and then I just get snot all over the jacket. So Pastor Josh, Pastor Colton, I'm sorry for ruining some of your clothes. Now, okay, sorry, fast forward a little bit more, graduate high school, and Pastor Josh asked me to become his assistant, and so I'm hanging around Pastor Josh all the time. I'm hanging around his family, and it's good. I'm learning so much. I'm learning about reading the Bible. I'm learning about like what worship means. I'm learning about all this stuff about what it means to be a Christian and how to walk out my Christian walk, and it's good. I'm learning so much. And I learned about theology. I learned what it means to love people, and I learned what it means to like really just to dive in to what God has for you. And I didn't go from not knowing a book in the Bible, not I'm not saying a verse, like a book, like the big old like chapter you could call it. I know zero books to researching what some of the terms mean in the Bible overnight. I didn't go from not understanding what worship was, for calling people weird who were raising their hands, to making worship my declaration, my prayer overnight. These all took steps. It takes steps. I want you guys to say it with me. It takes steps. That is what I'm talking about. To kind of give you a better example of what steps look like and how it really does apply to almost everything in your life. Recently I decided to go to the gym. I say recently, it's probably like 3 months ago. Hey, thanks, man. New Year's resolution, it's just a little late. Really, no one? I said New Year's resolution. It was a little late. That was hilarious, guys. Come on. All right. So I decided, I'm going to go to the gym. Now, y'all saw what I looked like in high school. Y'all saw. That was 95-pound Dominic Robles. 95 pounds. I weighed 95 pounds all throughout high school. and it was glorious. I got made fun of from my peers. I got made fun of from my friends. I got made fun of from my family. It was the greatest experience of my life. If you can't tell, that's sarcasm. Now, I eventually, fast forward a little bit. I graduate high school. I'm no longer 95 pounds. I'm 105. That's what I'm talking about, right? So I graduate high school. I'm 105 pounds. I'm like, yeah, that'll show them. That'll show them. Guess who's big now? Guess who's swole now? 105 pounds. Yeah, no, that didn't really fly either. And so I recently made it my goal. Now I weighed 105 pounds, close to when I graduated high school, almost all the way up to a year ago. I'd say 4 months ago, I think I weighed 115. Now, some of y'all are like, I wish I had that problem. No, you don't. Trust me, you don't. All right, so I basically weigh 115, right? So I'm over here like, all right, I'm going to get swole. I'm going to get shredded. I'm going to get ripped. It is my goal to be able to lift a 40-pound dumbbell, just curl some reps, just call it good, And for those of you who don't know, 40 pounds is pretty heavy, okay? And so I'm like, all right, so I do what anyone does. I go to the gym, and I go to the dumbbell rack. It's this big old rack with a whole bunch of dumbbells. That's what they call a dumbbell rack. I pick up the 40, and I just start going to town. 115-pound me just starts going to town. That's not what happened. Guys, I'm 115 pounds. There's no way I'm curling 40 pounds. No siree. All right, so this is what I'm talking about. It's you have a goal in mind. I had a goal to be able to do this to one day, And so I started working my way up. When I started going to the gym, I went to the 15s, and I was like, all right, I'll get some good reps in. 15, a couple weeks later, 20, a couple weeks later, 25, a couple weeks later, 30, and I'm on my way to 40. I'm on my way to my goal, and it's great and it's good, but it takes steps. It wasn't just a overnight thing. I didn't just set my goal, and I was like, all right, tomorrow I'm going to lift 40 pounds. Call it good. Let's go. It just doesn't work like that. It takes steps. Say it with me. It takes steps. If you want to get better grades, it's going to take steps. So maybe instead of spending your time on TikTok, instead of maybe spending your time on, Call of Duty. Okay, Call of Duty over here. Instead of spending your time on Fortnite or hanging out with friends, maybe you set aside some time and really just hunker down and do your homework. Maybe your homework is what's keeping you from getting your good grades. If you want a better relationship with your parents, maybe instead of talking back all the time, maybe you just kind of try and listen and try and do what they tell you, even if you don't like it. It just might work. It takes steps. Now, there is one goal that we should all have in mind. Like, sure, some of us individuals might have a goal of being a videographer, doing better in school, having, being really good at sports, all this stuff. But there's one goal that everyone here should have. I want y'all to guess what it is. Be a better Christian. We're getting close. Live for Jesus. We're getting really close. Someone along those lines. It's we've got it in big letters. Bring about a real revolution. That's what I'm talking about. So we have a goal of bringing about a real revolution. Now, what is a real revolution? I'm going to kind of explain to you what I feel like a real revolution is. Can we pull up 2 Corinthians 5:17? Now it says, this means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone and a new life has begun. So basically, when you accept Jesus into your life, you're no longer the old you. You're no longer the person who wishes they were being better. You are made new in God, and God's going to go work through you. And then we have Romans 8:11. And the Spirit of God who raised Jesus from the dead lives in you. Just as God raised Christ from the dead, he will give life to your mortal body by the same Spirit living inside of you. So God raised Jesus from the dead, and he's going to raise the old, he's taking away the old you, and he's going to raise a new life in you. So that way you can bring about this real revolution. We have Luke 4:18. Now, 4:18 is not just the name of our youth group. 4:18 is a Bible verse in the book of Luke. I'm sure it's 4:18 you can find it in a couple different books. But we're talking about Luke 4:18, and it says, say it with me, because this is our verse. This is why we come here. So I want y'all to read it with me. It says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim that captives will be released, that the blind will see, and that the oppressed will be set free." This right here is real revolution. God is saying, hey, I want to set the oppressed free. I want to heal the blind. I want to make known that the captives will be set free. This is real revolution. And you're like, Dom, I don't know if I can go to Washoe County Jail, walk up in there, and just tell all the convicts, hey, you're free. Nah, you can't do that. I was just kidding. Come on, someone laugh. Thanks, Pastor Leanna. I appreciate y'all. Listen, I'm really bad at telling jokes. I'm great at telling stories. I want y'all to know that. And so this is what real revolution is. And it's sometimes when we look at people, we think, oh man, this person has this person has always been this amazing Christian. Oh man, this person has always been so talented and so skilled. But you're looking at it from going, and you're saying, I can't do that. I can't be a Pastor Josh. I can't be like Pastor Lena. I can't be like Pastor Colton. I can't be like my Connect Group leader. But you're looking at it from going from 10 pounds to 40 pounds. You're looking at it from you're not looking at the steps in between. How many of you guys know Kristen? Kristen, who's on our worship team. She's amazing. Now, when she sings, it's like heaven opens up and just angelic voices are coming down and raining upon us, and it's great. And I have permission to share the story, and Pastor Lena shared it on Sunday, so y'all should know it fairly well. She was scared of joining the worship team. She was legitimately scared of joining the worship team. She says she was scared of failure. She was scared of not being good enough. She was scared of just failure. And so eventually she's at a conference and she gets a word from God, and God says, hey, you should join the worship team. Not like you should, go join the worship team. And so she ends up having to make this choice of, what is my goal in life? Do I want to obey God? Do I want to follow God? Or do I want to do my own thing? Because if she said, I want to do my own thing, I don't know if she'd be on the worship team. But she wants to follow God. She set her eyes on God. She set her goal on God. She's like, all right, God, I'm going to do what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and take this step into the worship team. She gets to the worship team, and now she has to learn harmonies. She has to learn songs and all sorts of stuff. And I don't know if y'all can sing. I can't sing. Singing's hard. So I'm like, I feel for you, girl. Like, good on you. And so she has to learn all this stuff, and she's like, all right, I'll do it for you, God. So she takes a step. And so now she's being asked to lead songs. How many guys just love when Kristen's just up here and just raining down heaven? I sure love it. And so she's asked to lead songs. And so she has to take another step into what God has for her, into God's goal. And now she wrecks your tear ducts when she sings on stage. Tell me I'm wrong. If you tell me I'm wrong, I'm going to be severely disappointed in your taste in music. I'm just kidding. Sorry, that was a little rude. All right, Pastor Josh, your beloved Pastor Josh, amazing man. He dreams big, and I admire that about him. I love it, and it's always great. He has some great ideas. And he had this idea one day to put on this citywide event called Alive Teen Fest. And he spent hours and hours and hours working on this, and he's not doing this just because Josh wants to. He's doing this because he feels like his goal, his mission was set on God and to reach teens, to impact the next generation. So he takes steps into putting on this big old conference, this big old event. And so he takes all these steps to reach 1,500 students, but guess how many show up? 300. 300. It is still good. Darian, I love your outlook on things. I appreciate it. So 300 people show up. But his goal, his mission in life was not to make Alive Teen Fest the coolest thing ever, the most revolutionary thing ever. No, his goal, his mission was to obey God, to impact the next generation. So, he life goes on. He puts on many more events, and they're great, and it's glorious. And now we're here, and he's taking steps and steps and steps behind the scenes to build an app that's going to reach teenagers globally across all the nations. So it's not just this small thing here at 42. It's not just a citywide thing here. It is across the whole globe, and he took all those steps to get to where he's at. Say it with me. It takes steps. All right. I want you to turn to your partner and say, real revolution starts with you. I want you to turn to your other partner. I say partner, but it's really this person sitting next to you. And say, real revolution starts with me. All right. If you are taking notes, which I sure hope you are because I see a lot of phones out, I sure hope that you write this one down. The steps that you take to further your Christian walk is what will bring about real revolution. Now, some of you guys might find it hard to read the Bible. When I was first starting out, as a Christian, I hated, I just hated reading in general. Like AR test back in elementary school, don't even get me started. How many of y'all had AR test, or was that gone by your time? Was that gone by your time? He had AR test. Okay, that gives me hope. I'm not that old. All right. So I hated reading, AR test. I'm like, can I just sneak the book and look at the answers as I go, because I cannot do this. And so I just had a hard time reading. I hated it, but I had a goal to I had a goal to read my Bible more because I wanted to know what God had in store for me. I wanted to know what God said about me. I wanted to know God's character more. And so I had a goal of reading my Bible. So you know what I did? I sat down and I read the whole Bible in one night. No, I didn't really do that. No, I did not do that. However, if I did that, thanks for clapping some of y'all. Now, no, I had to take my first step. Now, would I have liked to be super confident and love reading and read the whole Bible in one night? Yes, I would have loved that. But I had to take one step, and I was like, all right, I'm at least going to read one verse today. I hated reading that much. That I was like, I will read at least one verse today. And so I read one verse today. Next day comes along. All right, I got to read one verse. I got to know what God says. And the next day, I'm going to read one verse. And I'm just taking these steps slowly and slowly and slowly. And before you know it, I'm over here reading whole chapters. I didn't even know it. I didn't even know I was reading. I was like, oh, man, I accidentally read more than one verse. Whoops. And I'm like, all right, that's kind of cool. And then so, time goes on and time goes on and time goes on. And reading just chapter, different days. And eventually I get to a point where I am looking up the definition of certain words in the verses so I can better understand what Scripture is talking about. We have a verse, Exodus 27. How many of you guys have heard this verse? It says, you should not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. We're going to look at the first part of that. How many of you guys are like, I grew up thinking that this, when I say grew up, I knew about this verse, but I didn't really grow up in the church. Anyways, I thought that this was always saying, like, oh yeah, don't say a cuss word and say God with it. Don't take it in vain, all that good stuff. I was like, yeah, that makes sense, sure. Why? But then one day I was like, why would God make this a commandment? Why would one of God's top things that you cannot do to say a cuss word with his name in it? And I was like, that seems kind of silly. So I went and I looked at the Scripture and I looked at the words and I looked at what they really meant. And the word vain means emptiness, without purpose, and with vanity. And basically it's saying, don't take the name of the Lord your God with emptiness, with nothing behind it, with nothing to back it. So don't say, oh yeah, I'm a Christian, I love God, I do all this stuff, but your life is 100% different. Do not take it in vain. So that's just the steps that you take will get you to a point. You don't go from 0 to 100. You have to slowly, gradually get there. It takes steps. Say it with me. It takes steps. That's what I'm talking about. Now, some of you guys might have a problem loving people. I know that loving people can be hard sometimes. Believe me, my little brother, I love him to death, but sometimes I also want to slap him to death. Now, I say that because I love him. Now, it is sometimes it's hard to love people when there are people making fun of you, when it's people that are supposed to be loving you and encouraging you, and they're just saying all these bad things and all these hard things. It just might be hard to love them. So you might hold a grudge in your heart. You might even hate them. And so when someone's picking on you, you might think, oh yeah, it's whatever, and you talk back and you say all these things. But let's see here, where are we at? In Matthew 5:44. It says, but I say, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you. Now, when this is all of this goes hand in hand. A step you take in reading your Bible is a step that you're taking in living your life more like Christ. A step that you take in worship is better understanding of what it means to really be a Christian. So all these steps go hand in hand. So I really recommend not just focusing on just one thing, but really applying it to your whole life in your Christian walk. And so it says, love your enemies, love those who persecute you, and pray for them. So maybe when it comes to someone messing with you and someone just saying all these mean things, instead of getting back in their face, instead of going to your friends and gossiping, maybe the first step is to just sit there and just be quiet. I know sometimes it is hard. How many of y'all really like to argue back? I love to debate and to talk back and to prove my point right, because I'm always right. Just kidding. And I love to prove my point. And so this was really hard for me to get a grasp of when I was first starting out and just really loving people. And so maybe the first step is to just keep quiet. And if you fail at that, then you end up talking back, and then maybe you say, all right, well, I talked back to them. I said this. I really didn't mean it. So I'm going to go to them and I'm going to say I'm sorry. And maybe you fail at that. Maybe you fail at saying I'm sorry. So then you just spend some time with God and you say, God, I'm really sorry for what I did. It is not loving for me to go to them and just talk bad about them to my friends or to do this and do that. But would you help me to love them? And then you start to, we start to do what? What does it say to do? Somebody, can we get that up there? What does it say to do? Pray for those who persecute you. So then you start to pray for them. You don't just say, God, would you help me love them? You start praying for them, because how many of you guys know it's hard to hate someone when you're loving on them? Like you can't hate someone and love them at the same time. So if you feel all this like anger and everything, you start praying for them. God, would you love them? God, would you show them that you're so good? God, would you just bless their day? Would you bless their family? And you just start speaking all these good things over their life and really asking God for great things for them. Eventually, you'll start working in you, and you'll be taking those steps to really loving people. And eventually, it's going to get easier to hold your tongue. Eventually, it's going to get easier to not talk back. Eventually, it's going to get easier to love people. And it takes steps. Say it with me. It takes steps. All right, we're almost done here. Exodus 20:12. I say we're almost done, but not really. Exodus 20:12. Honor your father and mother, then you will live a long, full life in the land that the Lord has given you. Land of the Lord your God is giving you. How many of y'all have heard this and you're like, what does it mean to honor my mother and father? I was like, I was that person. I was like, do I got to be like some kind of like judge, like, Your Honor, I did not eat the last cookie. Oh, guys, come on, that was gold. That was gold. Thanks. All right. So what does it mean to honor your father and mother? And this is a real struggle, because believe me, I understand this, because I was a person who's out here playing games, right? And my parents say, hey, can you do the dishes? And I'm like, yeah, can I do it like right when I'm done? They're like, yeah, sure, why not? And so they go out, they go get groceries, and then I'm still playing games. They get home, and like, I thought I told you to do the dishes. And I'm like, I forgot. And they get mad, and then they get mad at me, and I'm getting mad at them for getting mad at me, because I'm like, I forgot, and they're not accepting I forgot as a valid excuse, because how many of y'all know I forgot is a valid excuse? It is not. It is not. So I know this struggle very well, and it took so many attempts, so many steps into honoring my mother and father, and really loving them, and really showing them what God is like in my life, because my parents don't come to church. My parents, I don't think have ever stepped foot in this building or the next building or any church since we moved here 13 years ago. And I get to be Jesus in their life. I get to be the light in their life. And there's been plenty of times where my mom will ask me something. Hey, so what does the Bible say about this? Or like, what does God say about this? And I get to be that life. I get to be that gateway to God, because I'm living my life. I started changing. I started living my life a new way. So maybe when your parents say, hey, can you do this? Instead of saying, I'll do it when I'm done, you take a step and say, I'll do it right now. And so you take that step and you obey them, right? If you fail that, then they get home and they get mad at you, you look at them and say, you know what, Mom, you know what, Dad, I'm sorry, I'll go do it right now. And you just listen to them and you obey them, and you just show God's love to them. And if you fail at that and you say something that you don't want to say, then you go back to them. As soon as you're ready, as soon as you take it to God, you go back to them and say, you know what, Mom, Dad, I'm sorry for saying this. I'll try and do better at doing things when you tell me to. It just takes steps. Say it with me. It takes steps. All right, this is probably my favoriteest point that I have for you guys. Again, it's another story. I just love telling stories. I'm really good at it. Pastor Josh, Pastor Colton, I don't want to hear it no more. All right. Matthew 28:19, it says, therefore, go and make disciples to all the nations, I'm paraphrasing, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And then we have Luke 4:18, sorry, we're jumping right into it. It says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim that the captives will be the captives will be released, the blind will see, and the oppressed will be set free. Now, God gives us this mission. He literally gives us this mission to go do this, because earlier when we read in Romans, like the same Spirit that it was in Jesus is living in us. So therefore, when this is Jesus talking, so when Jesus says all this, it is now our job. It is now our responsibility. It is our mission to go and fulfill this. And in Matthew 28:19, it is literally the Great Commission. He is literally saying, go and do this. And so going and making disciples, going and sharing the good news of Jesus, going and saying like, hey, like you don't have to live in sickness. You don't have to live in depression. You don't have to live in this. It was super hard for me because none of my friends loved Jesus. None of them. The person who I ended up going to church for, we ended up not talking anymore, and so they were my friends. So like that was my only friend that went to church. Excuse me, I need some water, man. All right, so that was I didn't have any friends who were churched. I didn't have any friends who were interested in changing their lives. Oh man, I didn't have any friends who were interested in doing any of that because, as far as they knew, their lives were totally fine. They were totally fine with going to parties. They're totally fine with drinking it up on the weekends. They're totally fine with talking back to the parents. They're totally fine with being depressed. They literally accepted like the spirit of depression on their lives, and they just had no problem with it. They saw no problem with it, and it was hard for me to want to share the good news of God because I didn't want to be rejected. I didn't want to be made fun of. I didn't want to be wrong in a sense. So, for instance, one of my friends, their family was going through something really hard, and a family member it looked like they were going to pass. And I was just praying for them, and I told them, hey, I really believe that God's going to heal your family. And I was super scared that I was going to be wrong. And that transitioned over to a lot of different moments in my life where I could have shared the gospel because I didn't want to be wrong. I didn't want to pray for something and it not happen. I didn't want to say, yeah, God has good things for you this year and it not happen. I was scared, so I took that and I didn't really share the gospel. I didn't really talk about Jesus. Well, all that aside, I still loved my friends. I still was there for them. I still prayed for them in secrets because you can do that too. You don't have to just pray for them, like lay hands on them, especially right now, COVID, 6 feet, But I still love them. I still did all this. And one day, my friends, we called ourselves the Avengers because that's just what you do when you're a boy. You just name your group cool things. We named ourselves the Avengers. I was Iron Man. Now, I'm not going to lie, I kind of wish I was Captain America at this point. Anyways, so we called ourselves the Avengers. We had a stay the night over. This wasn't a sleepover because sleepovers are for kids and girls. We had a stay the night over. I don't want y'all to mix it up. If y'all tell the story, Dom had to stay the night over. And so, we're playing Smash Bros. We're playing Mario Kart. We're playing all these fun games. We're playing Call of Duty, all this great stuff, and we're having a good time. We're eating pizza, and eventually, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. We're like, all right, we're all turning in. We're going to sleep. And so my friend Dan, he goes to his room. My friend Chris goes to his room. My friend James, he goes to sleep downstairs. And me and my friend JR, we're in the upstairs living room, and we're just sitting there, and we're just staring at the ceiling. Everything's dark. All the lights are off. And he just starts, just talking to me about his life. He starts talking to me about how he feels worthless, how he feels like he doesn't have anyone, how he doesn't feel loved, how he doesn't feel like he's good enough, like he feels like he's just going to fail. And he started telling me all these things. And eventually, he said, hey, can we go outside? Like, I just want to get some air. I don't want the others to hear about this. Like, I just came to you because I know how you are. And I didn't ask him at the time, but I'm fairly certain it's because I was a Christian that he's like, I know how you are. And so we went outside, and he starts talking to me, and I had this opportunity to take a step. And all this time, I've been scared to talk about God. I've been scared to talk about Jesus and just share the love of Jesus. And so I had this opportunity to take a step, and I said, JR, did you know that God loves you? Did you know that God calls you enough? Did you know that God has a plan for you? Did you know that God has great things in store for you? Did you know that you are so immeasurably, you have immeasurable worth to God? And I just started pouring out the love of Jesus in that one moment. And from that point on, it got so much easier to tell people the love of Jesus, to tell people that there is hope, to tell people that they don't have to live with these things. And it's just from that one step that I took in that one moment. And there's been plenty of times where I've had opportunities to tell other people about Jesus. And sometimes I was still scared, and so I didn't. But then I sat down, I said, God, would you, I took a step. I said, God, would you help me to love people enough to tell them about you? Would you give me your heart for them? Would you use me? And so I took a step and I said, God, use me. And then you know what? God said, all right, here you go. A couple weeks later, he puts me in another position. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna tell this person, and so he just used me, and it's just been good and good and good. But it took a step. So say it with me: it takes steps. Kind of with that whole friend group, it was funny because they never came to church, they never did anything, but they knew that there was something inside of me. Because when I'd come around, they joke, they cuss, they did all that stuff, they listen to whatever music, all that good stuff I say good stuff. I use that as a general term. It's not good that you do all that. So they did all that, but then when I come around, if I got in the car, they'd change the music because they know that they're like, hey, yeah, we just know that you don't listen to that kind of stuff. And I was like, hey, thanks, man. Or like they'd start joking about things. I'd come around and it's like, hey, we probably shouldn't joke about that. And it's like they knew that there was something inside of me that was different than what they had. And it's because of all the steps that I took to really know who God was. Colton, can we get some music? And so there's in every situation, you're going to have steps to take. And this is one of those moments. This is one of those moments where you need to take that step. I don't want to lie to you. You need God. You need Jesus in your life. As bad as it may, as easy as your life may seem and as good as it may feel, you need Jesus. Your life will be 10 times better with Jesus. And so all those steps that I took, you can take yourself. And it just takes that one step. It takes that first step to lead to all the other steps, to lead to where you are.